So I have the bird sunset ready to assemble. I kind of got this pretty closely fit. I'm pretty excited. So this is what the bird should look like, going upward that way. The sunset's right here. Like that. And this piece is 1075. This is 15 and 20. The background is all 1080 except for this top piece, which is 1095. Originally I was going to go with a thicker top piece, but I think the proportions were going to be too far off and there'd be too much sky without enough kind of stuff. So I shrank it and just put an 1/8 inch piece at 1095 instead of the 5/16 piece I was going to put on top. Gives me a little bit less volume, but I still have quite a bit. It's about 1 inch by 3 3/4 by, I don't know, an inch and 5/8 or something. This should give me enough for 2 chef's knives roughly. My plan is to, probably on Monday, I don't know if I'll get these done this week. This is 15 and 20, just happened to be the right size, 16th inch, easier to cut than sheet. I'm going to weld perimeter of that, and then I'll seam up these guys. And I think I'll probably use stainless fill just so I know it's not going to crack or anything. And I'll fill those because they're going to get cut through anyway. Once I have this forge welded up, and my plan is to go this way, this way, this way, this way, and then draw it out a little bit. I'll probably go for like 3/4 by 5.5 or 6 inches, and then once I cut it in half, I'll have like 2 5/16 inch pieces, which I can grind off a little bit, maybe pattern it a little if I need to. I can't quite get 3 out, I don't think. I might be able to. We'll see. I might be able to saw 3. We'll see. But the other thing I'm going to do, once I have this forged out into the bar, I'm going to pre-cut the angles on it so that I don't lose the horizon line. So for the side that has the birds going upward, I'll make that the point, and I'm going to cut like that all the way through into the pattern welded bar so that my tip can come up and just fill in. I'm also going to come in and cut, remember this will be longer, this way so that the heel doesn't pull up this section. And when I forge it, I'll be very careful about what order of operations I use and how I forge this to keep that pattern consistent. It was a little tricky last time, but it wasn't terrible. The birds will actually kind of compress and pull forward and elongate. The ones in back will kind of just stay there, maybe elongate a little bit. So I'm excited to see what it looks like. I'm kind of curious to see if the 2 bird patterns will end up looking similar or different or what. The fits were really good. Using the method of turning these around and then putting it in the milling machine, once I found a sharp cutter, worked amazingly well. The fit was just like tap it in and it stayed. I did super glue everything while I got everything assembled, and then this is just super glued together right now. I find that makes it much easier, and the super glue just disappears into everything anyway. Every surface of this has been ground, so there shouldn't be any decarb. It should be pretty much what I have in my head. We'll see. I say that, but you know, it always changes. So yeah, so we'll get this welded up soon and go from there. I think what I'm going to do is the same time I weld this up, I'm going to case the Baba Yaga and get that set up. One thing I noticed on this is the ends of this are a little angular, so I think I'm going to throw this into the milling machine and square that cut. And I'm going to do that so that when I come down and tap on the top, because I have to assemble this welds lengthwise as well as widthwise, or it's not going to take, because there's a few welds that are perpendicular to this edge here, like this one here. If I don't compress this direction, it's not going to weld. So to keep it from buckling as much, I want to square these in just square as possible. And I think that will help. I don't know. I don't have high hopes for this one. But I'm going to try it on the 1/4 inch first. And if it works on the 1/4 inch, I'll go and do the 3/8, and then I'll have that enough to do the pattern I wanted. And if not, well, then I will just, I don't know, cry a little bit. All right. See you next time, guys. So I managed to run these on Friday. It's now Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. And I just ground them off and etched them. And I'm pretty excited for this guy. This is the birds. And it came out, as far as I can tell, exactly the way I intended it. There's still a few little pieces of jacket on there, but I'm going to split this in half. I did the calculation. If I cut this in half, I'll be about 3/8 thick, probably a little under. At this length and that width, that gives me about 2.7 or 2.67 cubic inches. If I do a piece of 1/4 by 6 by inch and a half, or inch and a quarter, which is my usual starting point, I believe it is like 1.7, and that makes an 8-inch knife. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this in half. I'm going to cut my point, cut my tang slot, and then draw it out a little bit and just leave the thing a little thick. And that should be good. I should get 2 knives out of this. I think if I try to cut it into 3 pieces, I'm going to end up with 1 knife. Yeah, it's not going to work, you know. I'm going to, because I'm cutting that point, I'm going to lose, you know, cubic inch there. So I think it'll be all right. It'll probably make about a 9-inch knife, 9.5-inch knife, which is a nice size. And I can leave it a little thicker for heat treat, which is good for straightness. I ran the 1/4 inch thick piece of Baba Yaga with a piece of 1/8 inch welded to each side. It seems to have welded much better. It has still got some iffy welds. It seems solid everywhere. I managed to get an etch on it. I don't know if you can see it. It's not a very good etch. It's at 36 grit. I got through the casing, and there was not anything glaring. I'm going to try forging this. There's a few pinholes that may open up, or not. I know that when I did the Ashokan knife, there were a few pinholes that I was worried were going to open and didn't, and ended up being fine. They don't seem to go all the way through either. I'm not really sure what's causing those pinholes because of where they are. They're not really logical. Like one of them is in the middle of a window, which was a solid piece of steel. So I got no idea why that would be there. And like in the middle of bars that have pattern. So I'm wondering if those pinholes are just an fabrication or an abstract of grinding it and putting the casing down, maybe pushing something into the surface. I'm just not quite through it because they don't seem to line up side to side. What's worrying me more is, and it won't show up on camera, I don't think I can even get a picture of it with a better camera. Well, maybe. These little bit of white ghosting around the edges of these lines, those were my bad welds. That white ghosting tends to be weak weld. It's generally associated with a lot of decarb around that weld, so it wasn't opened up at some point. We know that. It decarbed, it welded. It was definitely pulling dust, so it's acting a little different magnetically than the rest of the steel. I could see it when I was grinding it. I was like, oh no, there's a weld, and then I blew it off and the weld went away. When I etched it, it didn't bloom, rust, or anything, so it's not a hole. It's just collecting dust differently, which I've had happen quite a bit with Damascus in the past. Two alloys reacting differently to the process, I guess. It is very stretched and very warped, so what I think I'm going to do with this one is try to forge it into like a Nakuri kind of thing, and I'm just going to forge a tang into it. I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to let it do whatever it wants to do. And I'm going to try to pull that edge down as much as I possibly can and widen this as much as I possibly can to try to counteract this stretching a little bit. We'll see what happens. I don't have high hopes for it, but you know, if I can get anything out of it, it'd be great. The other one, now that I know this ran like this, I'm willing to try the 3/8 thick one the same way with some 16th. And now that I've learned how to set these welds a little better, I'll try again. But I'm going to do that when I'm feeling better because I'm not feeling so great this week. So, there's that. All right. See you next time.